Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching and thank you for clicking on this video. So today I just wanted to do a basic boilerplate version of a backend API system using Node.js and also Express JS, the framework that synonymously goes with Node.js. It's certainly not the only one, but it is one of the most popular. We're also going to connect to a MongoDB database, although I'm using a local MongoDB database just because that's what I'm using. But certainly if you need or if you want to use it live, you would go to here and you sign up for a free account and they give you one cluster which holds a multitude of tables for free, and then you can link it. But it'll be all the same except for the link that we use to get to the database. So here they give you the link and you just copy and paste it. For us, we're using a local database, so the link will be slightly different, but everything else will work exactly the same. So without further ado, for this you are going to need Node. So you type in Node.js, go to nodejs.org and download the latest stable version, which as the recording in this video is version 14.15. Also, I'd like to take this time, if you like this video, please leave a like. I would appreciate it. Also, I do a lot of tutorials like this where I sort of walk you step by step through the code. Um, Mostly to do with JavaScript, mostly to do with MERN or Node.js, Express, React, etc. But I do also some PHP and HTML and CSS stuff. So anyway, so if you like that sort of stuff, consider subscribing. I would certainly appreciate it. Um, and if you have any questions or you need some feedback or whatever, just leave a comment, and I usually check every single day on my comments and stuff. Not because I'm vain, but because that's what I like to do. Anyway, so let's get started. We're just going to jump right into it. So once you download Node and install it, it's a basic installer. I'm using Windows 10, but it's the exact same thing for Mac. So you install Node, and then you're going to open up in Windows, you're going to open up a command prompt, or in Mac, you're going to open up your terminal. And we're going to start this project. We're going to do npm init we're going to do iPost. Actually, you know what? Let's do this first. So for Windows, we're going to make dir i-post because we're going to be creating mkdir i-post. So then we'll cd i-post. So we're going to be creating a backend, the complete API, the complete CRUD operation program for a online web app. This is not mobile, although you can use this for a mobile app like React Native just as easily. The back end works exactly the same. It's the front end that would change whether you're on the web or on mobile. So you can use this for either or, web app or mobile app. Just depends on the front end that you're going to use, right? Okay, so here we are. So we're in our folder. We're going to do npm init, and it's going to walk us through some questions. Okay, good. So package name is iPost, version 1, yes. Description, no. Entry point, I'm going to put server.js. You can use index or app or whatever, but I like server, yes, yes. You can put your name. License, I'll leave it ISC. Good. And there we go. So I'm going to type code because I'm going to type code and dot period to open up VS Code, which if you have VS Code installed, that comes automatically. And here's our package.json file with all the info we just entered. I'm going to delete this for now. Okay. Actually, I guess I could do that for now. I'm going to create two scripts, although we'll only be using one of them. So first one is a start script. This is like the official, when you go to deploy it, you would use this to deploy, or at least part of your deployment, server.js. And it's just a command, basically. And here's the one we're going to be using more often, which is this one, nodemon server.js. Now we haven't installed nodemon, but we will. And I'm going to show you how to do that next, because we're going to install all of our dependencies. So I'm going to open up a terminal in VS Code, and I'm going to move it to the right hand side because that's the way I like to do it. Keep it on the bottom if that's what you like. Now, since we have npm installed already, which comes with Node, we can do npm install or just I prefer I. We're going to install Express, like I said, because we're going to use that as our framework to deal with our routes. We're going to use Mongoose to connect to our database. Just makes it a little bit easier. You don't need it, but it definitely makes it a lot easier. We're going to use body parser. And yes, I realize that Express now comes with a body parser built into it, but for this, I'm using body parser. So feel free to use whichever you like. I'm also going to use something called config, which I will, oops, need a space there. Config, which I will explain later on in the video. So npm is installing all those packages for us, and then we have one more thing to do before we move on. And you'll notice that we now have package-lock.json file. This just sort of controls all our versions of our packages. But now you'll see here we have under dependencies our body parser, config, express, and mongoose. Puts them in alphabetical order. Excuse me, with their versions. Now, next what we need to do is install that dependency of nodemon that I mentioned. Now, nodemon is not something you use in the live application or after you deploy. It's something that we strictly use when we're developing. It's strictly something that we just use to help us out a little bit. So to do that, we do dash uppercase D for the development, whatever that's called, I forget, sorry, and nodemon, right? And it's going to install that as a dev dependency, which will not be calculated into when we deploy the app, which we're not going to, but if you were to, it wouldn't include nodemon because you don't need that to run a live app. We just need it to do some testing and whatnot. Okay, cool. It looks like we're all done. Now you see it has dev dependencies, nodemon, separate from our regular dependencies. Good. We're done with that spiel. Now, let's see. I will leave a link in the description on how to set up a local MongoDB database. But for now, we're just going to do this. I'm going to cd out of here. Cd one more. Okay, I'm going to cd program, program files. This is for Windows, by the way. Bear with me. This is just the route on how to start your MongoDB database, your local MongoDB database. Mongo, and then it runs, and then to create a database, you do use, and then the name of your database. I-posts. There you go. I'll just call it that. I-post. Now you see it's switched to database I-post. Okay, so that's all we need to do for that. So our database is running. It actually doesn't have to, but just to show you how it's done. Now, So we have our node modules folder, which is humongous, which it includes our body parser and all the other things that we installed. And it has our package.json file. So what we need to do now is create our actual server file. This is our uh, main file. Okay, so that's it. So we're going to get a very, 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 very basic Express server going, or Node Express server going. We're going to bring in const express equals require. This is not ES6 syntax. Node has not done that yet, as far as I know. So we have our const. So we brought in Express, and we're requiring Express. And then now we're going to const app. We're going to app. We're going to use Express through this app variable. So now we're using Express. We're also going to do a const port equals. Now, normally you could just do 5,000 for the server to run on, port 5,000, which is what you need. But which is all we're going to do. We're not deploying this or anything. This is just an example. But if you were to, you would need this process.env all cap port or 5,000, which says use whatever environment variable is on your deployment site, Heroku or AWS or whatever, or 5,000, which is the default. Okay. Now we're going to come down here, app.listen, right? App.listen. We're going to use our port variable, comma. Then we're going to do a callback function, console.log, and we're just going to log so we can check to see if we're actually running. Server running on port. Then we're going to, this is, by the way, the backticks, the little apostrophe looking thing to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard instead of quotes. That way we could put variables right in there, which we're going to use our port variable instead of doing single quotes and concatenating. All right, let's see if that works here. Save all. Now we're going to come down here and we're going to do npm run dev, which is what we put in here, this dev. So npm run, and then whatever you call this is what you're going to put in there. So let's see if that works. Cool. Server running on port 5000. So now we have a fully functional, albeit useless, server running, listening, waiting for us to tell it what to do. Okay. So let's bring in some of our other things. We're going to bring in const body parser. We don't necessarily need this yet, but I'm going to bring it in just so I don't forget. Require body, oops, need quotes there. Body dash parser. And let's see, we also need mongoose. So const, because we're going to do that next, set up our connection. Mongoose equals require mongoose. Okay, and that is really all we need. Let's just get it out of the way. So we're going to do, here's our body parser. Okay, and that is app.use because we wanted to use this, obviously. Our body parser, the actual body parser, .json. Okay, and then secondly, app.use again is body parser, our variable again that we created up here to bring it in. And then we're going to do .url encoded. Yes, that's correct. And then we're going to specify extended, and this is just standard. We're going to set it to true. It's just what you have to do for body parser. All right. So yeah, that's it. That should be it. Nothing's really going to change, but as you can see down here, NodeMod is watching for any time we save and make changes, and then it restarts the server as opposed to having to close the server like this. See, each time you made a change and then saved it, you'd have to start your server over again. But instead, with NodeMod, we don't have to do that. It does it automatically. Okay. All right, let's do this. Let's create our connection to our MongoDB database, const, which is local again, const database equals config.get, right? I'm going to call this Mongo URI, and we haven't created that yet, but we're going to shortly. So config is going to go and get it because basically you don't want to. A lot of times what happens is in the more basic examples, they'll show you how to create, and you create a keys.js file, which is fine, but it's not the best. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to create a folder in our main folder called config, okay? And then inside of that, we're going to create a new file called default.json, okay? Now inside of that, we're going to do, we're going to open some curly braces. Now this is straight up JSON, so brackets around everything. Mongo URI, we're going to create that now. And actually I gotta, and that's going to be a string, okay? Oops, it's got to be double quotes. Actually I forget what the hell, it's something like HTTP local Mongo, I forget. But regardless, we're gonna look and see. I don't know if this is good or whatever. You can see all my shit. Don't at me, skate shippers. I don't know what that means. But anyway, so in here, here's another default JSON thing. And I just forget what the hell it is. I just forget what the actual string is. Anyway, so here it is, Mongo URI. So it's Mongo. I'm just going to copy and paste this. Actually, just this here. So in here, I'm going to paste that. Okay, so it's Mongo localhost, blah, 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 and the name of the database. Now, if it was your MongoDB Atlas, the online one, it would say http://MongoDB, and you'd have to put in your username and password, and then it would have some other information. But anyway, so that's where you would put that. And by the way, when you do use it live, don't worry about this. When you do use it live, this is the only thing that you need to change. Everything else stays the same. So it makes it a little bit easier. Oh, I didn't bring in config. So const config equals require. Should it say what I mean about forgetting? Config, and there we go. And that should take that away. Save all. Good. All right, now let's create our connection to our MongoDB database. So we're going to call mongoose, right, which is a function. I'm sorry, mongoose.connect, which is a function. And we're going to pass in our variable of our database that we created up here, which is going to go into our default JSON file and get our Mongo URI, which is signified up here. So that's what we need to connect. Now with Mongoose, you need to add a few of these extra dealios in here, otherwise you're going to get some warnings. Use, what the heck is it? New URL parser, and we're going to set that to true. There's 4 of them, so bear with me. Use, find, and modify, which we're going to set to false. Use create index as next. Index, and we're going to set that to true. Next is the last one. Use unified topology. Use unified topology, and we're going to finally set that to true. Okay. Okay. So then the connect method is a returns a promise. So we're going to do dot then. Okay. Pass in the callback, which is an arrow function in our case, and we're just going to console.log connected to database, right? And then we could also do a dot catch in case there's an error. Let's see. Yeah, we'll pass in an error variable, another arrow function, console.log, and we'll log that error in case there's a problem. We'll be able to read it. So save all, let's see what we get. And there we go, connected to database, also server running. So we're all good there. Now, so for anyone who's worked with PHP, you know that you create a MySQL database, you create the rows in a table, and it's all preset, right? So if you want to go in and change it, it's a little bit of a pain, but that's what you do. But for this, what we're going to do is we are going to create a schema, a model, which is also what you would use in PHP, only we do it differently. So I am going to create a folder called model, and I'm going to create a file in there called postmodel.js. Okay, so this is going to dictate how our information is stored as JSON, of course. So we need const mongoose. And I'm trying to explain as much as I can as I go along, but it's hard to type and speak at the same time. Mongoose, so we need mongoose, of course, for this. So const schema, because we're going to create a schema, equals mongoose dot schema. So we're going to create a new schema. Okay, colon. And here's our post schema. Okay, we're going to do const post schema, of course, equals a new class of this schema, new class of schema. We're going to open it, and we're going to create an object here. Let's see, I guess we'll do title, and this is how it's done. So we're going to title and an object. It's going to have a type of string. This could easily be number, if it was a number, or Boolean, but in this case it's just going to be a string because this is going to be the title of our post, and we're going to say required. We're going to say it's required true. That means if you send it without that, this has nothing to do with like form validation on the front end. This is strictly that means that it'll cause an error if it doesn't have a title with it. Okay, and we'll do body. Whoops, body. Another object, type again of string, and we'll also say this is also required true. And let's do one more. Let's do date created, just so we can know when it was created. And maybe you want to display the time that it was created or something like that, or search by date, or whatever it is. So this is going to be, oops, sorry about that. This is going to be a date. It's going to be required true. And we're also going to set a default, because assumably on the front end you're not going to let the person choose their date, most likely, but in most cases it's just going to be automatically assigned. So we're going to set a default to date dot now, which we'll set it to right now in time code. And okay, that's it. That's it for our model. Now we have to export this with module.exports equals posts, which is what this is, equals mongoose dot model. And we're going to pass it in posts. And then we're going to pass it in our post schema. Yes, correct. That looks correct. Okay, good. I'm going to save that. And nothing should change because we haven't actually done anything yet. We just created our schema, which we're going to use in the next section. Okay, good. All right, now comes the fun stuff, so to speak. So I'm going to create a folder called routes. Okay. And then inside of that, I'm going to create another folder called API. And then inside of API, I'm going to create a folder called posts.js. Now this is our meat and potatoes. This is our actual routes that we're going to set up. This is where we set up our actual API. Okay. So we need const express equals require because we need express for this, obviously. Express. Now what we're going to do is we're going to set up a router. Const router equals, I'm sorry, not require, equals express this variable we just declared here, dot router, which is a core express module. And there you go. Now, before I go on and forget, let's come down here and do module, yes, I knew that was right, dot exports equals router. So we export the router into our server.js, and we'll get into that later. So let's create our routes here. So our first one, or most typical, so let's see, get all posts, and then access public for now because we haven't added any user authentication or anything. So what we're going to do, we're going to take that router variable that we got up here, and we're going to do dot get because it's a get request. To for now, we're going to do just dot slash, and you'll see why in a little bit. And we're going to give it our request and response arguments with a fat arrow or a arrow function. And let's see here. Let's do a try catch. I want to make this asynchronous, right? Because normally you could do it with a dot then sort of scenario, but in this case, I think async works a little bit better and a little bit faster and a little cleaner. So we're going to do it in a try catch, right? Oops. Catch. Okay, there's our try catch block. Okay, good. Now, oh, I'm sorry, one thing, see, we got to bring in our model because this is how we control all of our APIs. This is how we reference how things are stored. So we need to, our router or our API needs to know how to reference them. So posts equals require quotes dot slash. Oh, I'm sorry, no, we have to go dot dot slash, which takes us out of the API folder, dot dot slash again, which takes us out of the routes folder. And then we want to go into model slash post model. Okay, so now we can reference that. Okay, and that's how we reference all of them. So let's see. Okay, let's do const post equals await. So this is a sync await. Okay, so it's going to await this. So if this process takes a little longer, it's going to move on to the next thing. Do that and then come back to this because it's an event loop. That's how Node.js works. So it doesn't come to this. This takes a while and it just stays here while nothing else happens. In this case, if you await this, if it happens right away, great. It loads it and end of story. But in this, synchronous does not do that. It gets stuck on here until this is done, and then it moves on to the next thing. So we want to do that. So we're going to do our posts that's up top that we got in from our model dot find. Okay, and that's it. So let's do a thing. If not posts, which is this variable here, we're going to throw an error. Okay, and just say no posts. Can't type here, posts. No posts here, bruh. Okay, I know. You can have a lot of fun as a programmer. It's great. Now, if there is posts to be returned, we're going to do res.status of 200, which means everything's okay, and here's your information that you requested in JSON, and then we're going to pass in the posts. Okay, and that's really it. Now let's come down here and deal with if there's an error. We're going to do res.status 404, which means not found. And then we're going to do and we'll send some JSON, MSG, or message. Okay, yeah, let's do that, and then we'll do e.message to give us whatever the actual error is. And that's it. That's it. Now let's test that. Let's just see if that works. I'm opening Postman, which you can get online if you Google search Postman, and then download it. It's a program. You install it, and then you can use it. Bada beep, bada boop. It opens like this. Excuse me, sorry. As you can see, I was already testing this. So let me close this out. So when you open Postman for the first time, you'll see this empty, and you want to come in here. Excuse me, http://localhost port 5000, which is what we set, /API/posts. Now let's do it again. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it's an error. It's not found. Now, here's our error. This is what we typed out, of course. Now, the problem is that we never brought it in. Let me close this. We never brought it into our, we never brought it into our main server, which is what we need. So I am going to do that now. So I guess right underneath our Mongoose connection, app.use, because we want to use this, excuse me, here's where we set our actual API endpoint /posts, right? I'm going to do require, what am I saying? /routes / oh, whoops, I'm sorry, I forgot the quotes. Got to do quotes. /routes /API. Okay. Oh, /posts, which is our route, or our routes file here. Okay, so we got that. That's why in here we just did that. Right? If we were doing all these API routes in the server, we wouldn't need this. We would just have app.get /API/posts and then all this. But we're sort of cleaning up our server.js file. This is all our server.js file is going to be, just this code. And then we do all our routes in this folder. Now, if you had something like user authentication, you would go in your API folder and do users.js, and then that would all, you would do all the same in there, and then you would bring it in here with another app.use. Okay, but we're not doing that. So let's save all that shiznit. As soon as it saves. Whoops, it's telling us we got an error. Equals new schema. Hang on a sec. Give me a sec here. Oh, I'm sorry. No parentheses here. Sorry about that. There we go. All right, close that baby up. All right, now let's test our route again. This is just our straight up get route. And we got you can see we got a status of 200, which means everything's okay. And of course we got an empty array because there's nothing in there yet, right? All right, let's bang back and get to the other one. So this is get single post. Also access public because we don't have any user authentication. So we're going to do router.get also. We're just going to get it in a slightly different way. We're going to do some actual coding and shit. Actually, let's make this async as well. Add our request response arguments here and open that puppy up. Okay. Now let's see. Let's do. Okay. So for our basic route, we're going to add a placeholder similar to PHP. This is where our ID is going to go because you're going to search by ID. We're going to do our try catch block again. Catch. That same E up there. Good. Great. All right. Now we're going to do const single post. I'm just creating a variable here. Will equal await again because this is going to await this process. Posts dot find by ID. Now that's a basic Node.js thing. And we're going to pass in our request.params.id, which will be passed into here from the front end. So it knows where to search. Okay. Now we're going to do another if statement. If not single posts, single post, we're going to throw an error. And we'll say could not find that post. You know, whatever. You can type anything you want. But if there is a single post that matches that ID, we're going to do res.status again, 200 .json, and we're going to pass in that single post, right? Great. That's it. Now let's again handle our, if there's an error, res.status 404, which means not found. Then we're going to pass on some JSON, so it's, you know, MSG. You can actually copy this from above because we're going to do e.message again. So it gives us the error message. Okay. Now, excuse me, we don't have any posts in there yet, so we can't test this yet. So let's move on. Let's just save, make sure there's no errors. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why my screen keeps dipping in and out like that. If one of you guys knows the problem, let me know, and I'll fix that baby up. All right, so let's create a route to post things to our lovely API. So we're going to do / make a post or post a post. Again, /access is public because we don't have any user authentication yet. And we're going to do router.post because this is a post method to that exact same endpoint. We're going to make async. I think we're going to do all these async. Request, response. Here, let me just scroll down so you guys can see. Okay, so now, so what's going to happen is from your front end, you're going to send information, right? As a request, you're going to request to make a post from your front end. So that comes in the form of request.body. So let's do a little destructuring and pull out title and body, okay, from our request.body. And this just makes it a little cleaner. So you don't have to type request.body.title and request.body.body. Yeah, I said that right. Let's see. Now, in order to make a post, we're going to create const new post, all right, which is equal to a new post, which is up here. So it enters into our model. And then we're going to tell it what we want to add in there. So title, title is equal to title, which is, Jesus, I gotta change that. Bear with me a sec, guys. I gotta take this off. Maybe you'll have the same problem and find this helpful. Where the heck is it? Suggestions, edit in JSON file. And I just make this like that long. So you don't get all these. So VS Code waits a while before it has one of those little pop-up windows, because those things are annoying. Anyway, all right. So, but with JavaScript or ES6, we only have to put that. Okay, and then we'll do body. So this is our new post. Right now, we got to do something with it. So we're going to do our try catch situation down here. Catch E. There's our try catch. All right, okay. So we're going to do const post. Now, since this is a function, it's not going to conflict with this const post up there, because it's all prototypal inheritance. So we're going to await that puppy. Our new post, right, which we created up here, containing our title and body. We're not going to set the date created at, because that's going to be automatically generated. And we're going to do .save. Okay. Let's see. And we're going to do some logic. So if not post, so if there was no post, I'm going to throw an error. And then it's just, could not make post. Try again. Something like that. Whatever. It doesn't matter. However, if there was a post that was saved and all that, we're going to do res.status again. 200. You should be seeing a pattern here by now. You could almost copy and paste, but I'm going to type it out. And then we're just going to log, or not log, but display our post in JSON format. And actually, in this case, let's just copy and paste this baby here, because it's the exact same catch. In case there's an error, we're going to let it display that error. Now, let's see. Delete a post, which seems pretty logical. You would want to delete them. Access public router. Now we're going to make a delete request to that same endpoint, except we're also going to need to get the ID, because we want to delete one specific post at a time, obviously. And this darn thing is back. And then we need a sync. Async. No, that's not right. Async. Thank you. Can't spell async for some reason. Request response. And there. Scroll down so you guys can see that. So we're going to go straight into our try catch baby. Love those try catch. E. And there. So what we're going to do is const. We got to find the post first. Const post equals post in our posts dot find by our old friend find by ID, and we're going to pass in a request dot params dot ID. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me guys. Wait, we want to await this because it's asynchronous. Then we're going to check. So if there is no post, so if there's no post by that ID number, we're going to throw an error again. Probably could have guessed that. No I guess post cannot be deleted. Whoops. If there is one, if there is a post by that number or by that ID number, we're going to wait. This is where we do the actual post. This is where we do the actual deleting. Dot remove. We're going to call dot remove. Okay. And then we're going to set if not removed. Yeah. We're going to throw an error. Error. And then we'll say, I don't know, post was not deleted. Just so we know. Good. Now, if all that was successful, if we found a post by that ID and we were able to remove it, we're going to say res.status, you guessed it, 200, and we're going to offer up some JSON, and we're just going to say success true, because we can't give them back the post they just deleted. That doesn't make sense. And again, we'll copy this, paste this down there. You should only copy and paste your own code. We're going to say, oops, success false. And you could put anything in here. It doesn't really matter. I'm just choosing to do that. Let's do that. Let's test that. So we got all our thingies. Seems like we have no errors. Let's go here. All right, so let's test our get all route again. Hopefully it works. There we go. Now we can't test our, if we do slash whatever, it's going to say it's going to give us our error, cast to object ID failed, because there is no post by that ID number, right? So let's do a post request. So we're going to click post to that same one. We're going to come here to body. We're going to click raw, and you're going to select JSON because we want to present it in JSON format. And now we're going to do straight up JSON. So opening and closing brackets, title, and then the title test post 1. And then we're going to do oh, sorry, our body. I don't have corona, I just have allergies. Test post 1 body. And that's it. Let's see if that works. If it does, we should get it back, and there we go. Status 200, our title, our body, our ID that's automatically generated, and our date that it was created. Sweet. Now let's test, let's copy this ID, and this is how we get a single post by ID. Yeah. Let's change this back to get. And now, of course, it's going to give us just this one because it's the only one we have, but it does give us that post. All right, let's create a second one just for the heck of it. Post to body, switch to post, delete this ID from the end, post that baby, and there you go. There's our second post. Now let's take this here, this ID, tack it on to the end of this endpoint, do a GET request, and there you go. It only gives us the two. I mean, post two, excuse me. But if we do GET all, you'll see we have our 2 posts here. Now let's do a delete. Let's take this delete number 2, copy. Remember, we got to add the ID to the end of it. And let's do a delete request and send. Success true. So that means it was deleted. Get all posts, delete the ID. And there we go. We just have test post 1. Now you might say, Adam, that's all we can do. And I say, nay, nay. we can do one more thing, which is a put request, which you would use in order to edit a current post, a post that's already been created. So how do we do that? We'll say edit edit a post, access public. I'm going to do router dot put, excuse me, sorry, with our endpoint. And then we also need, we also need an ID because we need to know which one we're editing. Request and response, our arrow function. Good. Oh God, sorry about that, guys. So essentially here we're both looking for a post that exists and we're creating a post. So let's get our title and body again from our request.body. This is a form from the front end that you would submit. Oops, request.body being sent, assumably from a form. That's most typical. Then we're going to do post.find, because we want to find that post with our, excuse me, request.params.id, right? Now, just a little bit different. We're going to do a callback, which takes in an error, right? And the post itself that it finds, if it matches, right? If it finds one with that. So we're going to, oops, sorry about that. Here's our callback function. Now, what do we want to do with this? So first we're going to check if there was an error, right? Because we want to make sure. We're going to give res.status, I guess 400, because it's technically an error, JSON, and we're going to do message, sorry, I had a brain fart there. Message, oops, can't spell right. Message, we're going to log out our message, and we'll do success is false, okay? So now if that's not the case, we're still inside of our post.find thingamajig. We're going to do, oh, excuse me. We're going to take our post variable that we created here, and we're going to do post.title. Did I spell that right? Yeah, title equals title, right? Then we're going to do post.body equals body, right? And we're going to come out of there. Sorry about that. Post.save. Okay, so we're going to then save that. And then you can just res.json the post. And I think that's it. That's all we need to do. Let's test that puppy out. Save all. Hopefully we get no errors. And looks like we didn't. So let's take this test post 1, copy the ID because we want to make sure that there's actually a post with that. We're going to do a put request, and in the title and body we're going to change it to let's see, post 1.1 and post 1 body, and then I'll just type in some stuff so we can see it. All right, let's try that puppy out. Parameter filter find must be an object. Success fail. Oh, I'm sorry guys, sorry about that. This should be find by ID. Sorry about that. Not just finds, find by ID. All right, let's try that again. And there we go. Test post 1.1, and then our new body, right? And either one, you know. would work. All right, guys, that's it. I know this was a longer video, but I wanted to put it all in one video. Hopefully, you guys found this helpful. It's not meant to send you on your way and now you can deploy an app, but it's meant to give you a direction in the way to go. Like I said, for the front end, I mean, I guess most typically it could be an Angular front end, it could be a React front end, it could be a React Native front end, it could be straight up HTML, JavaScript, and CSS front end. It doesn't really matter, but this is the back end, this is the node and Express setup. If you guys found this video helpful in any way, please like it. If you have any questions, any follow-up questions, give me a comment and I will get back to you ASAP. And also think about subscribing. I like doing these videos and I try to put them out as much as possible. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. Take care.